Hello, fellow peasants. Today I'm going to be talking about filmmaking. So we meet again in my car on my lunch break. Yes, so today I'm going to be talking about filmmaking. And I'm going to preface this video with the fact that I am not a famous, popular film director. You could even say I'm not a film director at all. I'm just a guy who goes around with his friends and family members with his iPhone and shoots shitty, low-budget horror movies. But I want to just talk about like my process and why I like to do it. And like my favorite parts of it, my least favorite parts of it. So I'll just go through my process. So when I make a crappy little movie, usually it starts with a concept. I have an idea in my head. And I'm like, that would be interesting. I haven't seen that before, or I haven't seen it done from that angle, or I want to do something that I have seen before, but I want to do it my way. So usually it's like an idea, and then I sit down and I think of, okay, well, what do I want the setting to be? What's the look of the film? What kind of like what look do I want in terms of filters, color grading, clothing, environment? And a lot of times the story or the premise tells you that right away. And then it's the writing process. Then I write the script. And when I write the script, most of the time I've made my movies in locations that I know really well, whether it's a friend's house, my house, or I've scouted out the location beforehand. And so when I write the script, the way I do it is scene by scene. So I break it up into scenes, and I do it all in order, and I write for each line of dialogue or everything. I do the shot list from front to back. So when I make a movie, there's usually, unless I find something in that moment that's interesting that I would like to add, something that's like last minute that I'm like, oh, I'll throw that in there maybe. Everything I shoot is on that list. I know exactly what I'm going to shoot, and I know exactly the angle that I want to shoot it at. I'm not saying it doesn't ever change, where I get there and I'm like, oh, well, this is actually a better angle over here to do this. Or there's limitations that happen, surprises happen, and I have to move the camera or anything like that. Well, but what I'm saying is I never go into making a movie and go, okay, well, we're here, so I don't know what you're going to say next, or I don't know where I want to angle the camera. Like that never happens. I always know my shot list, and I know the angle I want it at. I know that I put in notes, whether it's a zoom in, a zoom out, pan left, pan right. I know whether it's a still shot or it's a handheld shot. So that's all part of the writing process for me. And then once I get the script done, then basically I order stuff online that I need, whether that's masks, outfits, fake blood, anything, fake money. I mean, anything you can think of that would be needed for a movie. I order that on like Amazon or something, or go to like a Halloween store or something in town. And then we decide on like when we're going to shoot it and when we're going to do it and where we're going to, when we're gonna meet up, when everyone's schedules align, and then we film the movie. And most of the time when I make my shitty little movies, it takes about either one evening or a couple days. Most of my movies are like 12 to 13 minutes long. They're not full-length films. They're just short films. I like doing short films. I don't know if I could honestly do a full-length movie because I don't have the patience to sit and write a script that's like... There's just a lot of... like, as someone who makes short films, full-length movies have a lot of filler and just a lot of fluff and bullshit in them. A lot of the time, I find. A lot of times you can get a good story across in 10 to 15 minutes, in my opinion. But there's just a lot of filler when it comes to full-length films. I like to try it sometime. I just think it'd be hard because I'm just like, well, I could show this, I could put that in there, I could do that, but why am I going to spend the next 15 minutes on this just to get to this scene? Or, anyway. And so we film it, then I go in to edit the film. And editing is where it all really comes together. And then once it's edited, I usually save it to my computer and then put it on YouTube or something like that. And then that's it. Not much to it other than that. What do I like the most? What do I not like the most about making movies? What I like about making movies is, well, the thing I like the most about making movies is the editing process. I really like the editing process the most. I think, I'll drop my fucking keys. I like the editing process the most because it's where everything comes together. It's where the movie starts to come alive, because when it's all chopped up and there's extra shit on the end of each take and all that, it's not anything yet, it doesn't exist yet. And then when you edit the movie, that's when it all comes together. Like imagine a movie, like I think of a movie before it's edited as like a flip book, right? Like individually, the pages don't make up much, but once you flip through it and all the clips, all the pages are played in order as intended, it creates this illusion of movement and story and action. And that's kind of like that's how I view editing a film. It's like a flip book, but it's a digital flip book that you watch on a TV. It's just where it really comes to life. And selfishly also, when you're done shooting the film, you're just kind of exhausted. Like, it's fun to be out and about on the streets and making a movie and playing around and playing make-believe and all that. But then you're kind of exhausted by the end of that. And then you're just kind of like, man, I just can't wait to go home, upload my files, and play around with this and just put it all together and see how it comes together, As much as I love the filming process and hanging out with other people and making the movies, just getting to locations, making sure, people aren't walking around talking in the background, because I'm broke as fuck and I don't have a budget to block off streets and shit. So we do guerrilla filmmaking. We just show up somewhere and hope to God that there's not some sort of event going on that day, or there aren't people just standing around in the background doing random shit or walking in front of, you just kind of have to play with it, I just did a short horror film back in the fall, me and my cousin. It was just me and him, called Hills of Evil. And we shot that at a tunnel. It's a haunted tunnel here in Ohio called Moonville. And we shot the tunnel scene there, but we had to do it over the course of an hour or two just to get, I mean, the scene's only like a minute and a half long, 2 minutes long, I think. But it took us about 2 hours to do the whole scene because people kept walking through the tunnel while we're doing the takes. We had to wait for people to not just be out of the side of the camera. We had to wait for them to not be walking at all because the tunnel had a lot of reverb and echo in it. And so you can't tell when you watch the finished movie that we had to stop every fucking 20 seconds to get a take. And wait for people to walk through and get done talking and yelling and echoing in the tunnel. But by the time you're done watching it, after all is said and done, it looks like he's alone in the tunnel and no one was ever there around him. And he was in some secluded area, but he really wasn't. And so that type of stuff can be annoying when you're filming. You know, that's the stuff that can push the production aside because you're just like, oh, you know, I kind of figured this was going to happen, but I didn't expect people walking through here every 20 seconds. But I do like the filmmaking process of actually being out in the field, filming, hanging out with people, because you are flying by the seat of your pants. And I don't really give a fuck like what budget you have. Even if you're like on a $250 million Marvel budget, there's still shit that happens, I'm sure, that is last minute. Like, we didn't expect this, we didn't anticipate this. How do we work around this? There's a lot of problem solving that can happen when you're making even the most dirt cheap crap that I make. You know, there's issues you run into. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't imagine working on something where you got to travel out of the country and film. I couldn't imagine doing like some Mission Impossible movie that deals with hundreds of cast members, not cast members, but, you know, crew members, and dealing with contracts and all this other crap. Like, my least favorite part of the filming process, making a film, is the writing process. It can be fun, but for the most part, it's just kind of like, I gotta sit down, I gotta think about this, I gotta picture the angles, I gotta think of the dialogue, and it's nice when it's like, when it's done, you're like, wow, okay, like I feel satisfied, now I can finally move forward with filming this thing. But the writing process is just the hardest part. Not because like my imagination isn't flowing and going, and it's not that I have writer's block when I do it. It's just wanting to sit down and actually start the process is like, I've got this great idea, but I don't really want to sit down for the next several days or a week or however long and type on my phone and write this thing up. Like, once I'm doing it, it's not so bad. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's the most boring part of the process, which is interesting because without the writing process, you don't have anything to film or edit. So you would think that writing the interesting stuff would be one of the more interesting parts of the process, but I don't think it is. And I've always heard this, and until I actually sat and made some short films, over the last several years, I haven't really appreciated this saying a whole lot. But they say that there's the film you write, the film you shoot, and the film you edit. And that's true. It's completely different. I mean, some things you nail, like some things you're like, oh, okay, wow, that turned out as good or better than I pictured it. And some things you're like, God damn, like that did not turn out That's not how it looked in my head when I wrote that. You know, like when I wrote that, I saw it that way. And then sometimes when you're editing, you're like, oh, I can't use that. You see something in the background. There's a noise. You cut things out, you know, and so by the time it goes from the idea in your head to the finished edited product, it can be drastically different. Now, my main goal is, like, when I write stuff, like I said, I'm broke as fuck. I'm dirt poor. I shoot this shit on my iPhone in my backyard, basically. And I like that in a sense because it's easy to achieve what is in my head. And a lot of times, that's why I like to choose locations I know already when I write the script, so that I can choose the camera angles and all that ahead of time, because I intimately know the setting. So there's not a lot of guesswork there. There's not a lot of, what do I do with the camera now while I'm on location? And so I try to eliminate as much discrepancy between the idea in my head and what the finished edited product is by doing as much planning ahead of time before I do these things. So I will say, like, for the most part, because I work on such a limited budget and because I film in places that I have almost 100% control over, other than like when I'm out on the street and stuff, but in terms of homes and things like that, I have 100, it's not a set or anything. Like, this is homes that I know ahead of time that I film in. I know every angle of the house or whatever. Because of that, I've been able to eliminate a lot of last minute, oh fuck, I can't do that here. And so I'm able to get what I want for the most part. Like, what's in my head comes out in the finished edited product. But there are still a lot of differences. There are a lot of things that go wrong. Like the last one we just shot, like I was just saying, the Hills of Evil, or Hills of Evil, the last film we just did. I wasn't supposed to be in that movie, but our cousin backed out. And so, like, literally last minute, a half hour before we were supposed to film, and I ended up having to play the clown and the side character, Randy, I think my name is. And so shit like that happens where I was like, okay, all right, so the camera angles have to be set up different now. I didn't want any tripod shots in the film, but I had to do tripod shots because there were shots where me and him both had to be in the shot together, and I can't fucking do that if I'm holding the camera. I can't be in the scene. So so things like that have to change, and shit like that pops up. And then why do I do it? What's my process, and why do I do it? I think that's the name of the video. I do it because it's fun. It's fucking fun. It really is. It's just playing make-believe at the end of the day. Even like just the shitty little movies I make that are like 12, 13 minutes long with my friends and my cousin, they're fun to make. It's just adults going out with a bunch of props and playing make-believe for a couple days. And it's something that you do together. It's like a team collaboration thing. You know, it's like a team effort, really, at the end of the day, because I can have a great idea and I can write that shit down on paper, but unless I got like 3 or 4 more people that are willing to show up, put on some clothes, get bloody, get dirty, and roll and shit like that, like I don't have a movie. Like, no director has a movie. Like, without Steven Spielberg or any of the greatest of all time, they have nothing if they don't have actors to do it for them, and stage hands and shit like that. And so no movie can exist without a team, a group of people. And so, like, it's fun. It's a team effort. You're playing make-believe. And then at the end of the day, you got this thing. Like once I'm done editing it and all that, and I put it up on YouTube or whatever, or burn it onto a Blu-ray or DVD for everybody, that's something that not only did we made together, like as a like cool, like we made this little movie. It's also like a time capsule, you know, like 9 years ago, I did my first short horror film called Metalhead. And when I watch that movie now, not only is it fun to just watch the movie, but it's like, damn, you know, like my friend doesn't live in that house anymore. So like there's some memories there. It's like, you know, it's like a way of going back in time in a way, especially when you're friends and family with the people in your movies. It takes you back to that time that you filmed it, similar to like how like when you listen to a song, it'll take you back to that time, that moment in time when you first heard that song, or it takes you back to a memory of or something. And making a movie can do that, whether you are friends or family with the people in your movies or not. They might just be actors that you have no ties to at all, other than they signed the contract and they're in your movie. You know what I mean? You might have no affiliation with them, but you might watch your movie back and go, well, I do remember that time. That was the time I was doing this. I was doing that. I remember being there. I remember what I ate for lunch that day, or just shit like that. But anyway, guys, let me know down in the comments below if you've ever made a short horror film or short film in general of any genre. Just let me know down in the comments below if you ever have tried anything like that. I highly recommend trying it. It's very fun. It's easy to do. If I can do it, anyone can do it. I would say it's not hard to do, because it's not that hard to do. You write it, you shoot it, and you go out there and give it your best, and then you edit the thing, and it's fucking done, and you share it. And to quote William Friedkin, this isn't an exact quote, I'm pulling this out of my ass, but William Friedkin said something like, if you want to make a movie, 80% of it or something like that is just grab a camera and get the fuck out there and do it. Just go out there and do it. Just get the camera and go out there and do it. It's 80% doing. You know, you just gotta get it there and do it, get it done, get it out in the street, make your movie. And that's what I do. I just write my shitty little script. I call several people up and we go out and film the thing, and then we slap it on YouTube. And that's what we do. But anyway, guys, have a good one, peasants. Have a good one. I just repeated myself. I need to get back into the office and work on some more shit. Bye-bye. Later.